But by sunrise, the villagers found him hanging in the square. Stay with me until the very end, if you dare.
In the middle of the village stood an old graveyard surrounded by tall trees on all sides. Some say this place was cursed because there were many strange things that happened here. Many villagers tried to stay away from this place as much as possible. They claimed that at night they heard strange sounds coming from inside the graveyard, but no one knew what exactly was happening over there. One day, a stranger came to the village. He wanted to visit his friend who had died a few days ago and was buried in that same cemetery. The man's name was John. When he learned about the strange events that took place in the cemetery, he didn't believe it. He decided to pay a visit to his friend's grave in spite of everything. As soon as the sun began to set, John started his journey to the cemetery. The sky was covered with dark clouds. The wind began to blow more frequently, and the trees swayed their branches menacingly. All this made the journey to the cemetery even more horrible. But John kept going. When he got closer, he saw that the cemetery gates were wide open. He found this very strange because during the daytime, the caretaker always kept them closed. As he walked past the crooked iron fence, he noticed that someone had dug up a grave. John was taken aback by what he saw. He immediately called the police. The officers arrived quickly enough and began to investigate. According to the villagers, several graves had been desecrated, but the police could not find any evidence. The investigation did not yield any results, and eventually the officers left. John went to the cemetery to pay his respects to his friend, but his friend's grave was also destroyed. And then he realized that he might be the next victim. John decided to return home, but on the way he slipped on some wet leaves and fell. The man injured his leg and blood started flowing down his shoe, thinking that if he stayed there, he would be attacked by wild animals. John got up and limped towards the nearest house. It was an old abandoned house on the outskirts of town. He broke the window and crawled through it. Then John noticed that there was a young woman in the room. She was sitting on the floor with her back against the wall and holding a knife in her hands. At first, she tried to scream, but then realized that there was no use in that. There was no one to hear her. Then she started to cry. The girl was crying so hard that John couldn't stand it anymore. He started to speak to her, trying to calm her down, but she didn't answer him. Then John got scared that she might attack him. He backed away from her and looked for a way to escape from the house, but there wasn't one. John started to panic. He ran to the window, but it was locked from the outside. Then he remembered that he had a knife. The man pulled it out and threatened the girl with it. Startled, she dropped her knife. John grabbed it and ran away. He hid in the bushes near the house and waited until morning. Only when the first rays of sunlight touched the ground did he get up and run away from that place. The next day, the villagers woke up to a terrible sight. In the middle of the village square, someone had erected a wooden gallows. The villagers were shocked. They did not know what to do. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Look, there's a man in the noose." Indeed, a man was hanging on the gallows. His face was covered with a sack, and when the people pulled it off, they recognized the stranger who had come to the village the day before. It turned out that after escaping from the house, John had gone mad. He wandered around the village all night long, and when the sun began to rise, he hanged himself. However, this was not the end of the story. That same night, someone came to the cemetery and dug up John's grave. He didn't rest in peace. His soul was looking for revenge. The next morning, the villagers found that the gravedigger had disappeared without a trace. In addition, John's body was nowhere to be seen. People began to suspect that the gravedigger had stolen the corpse, but no one dared to ask him directly. Several days passed, and one night, a storm hit the village. Lightning flashed through the window of the old abandoned house where John had spent the night. The girl from that house was sitting in the same spot by the wall, but this time she wasn't alone. Next to her sat an emaciated old man. He kept stroking her hair and whispering something in her ear. The girl nodded her head obediently. That night, the storm was so violent that it woke up the whole village. Many people went to their windows to watch the lightning. Someone shouted, "Look, there's a ghost," and pointed to a figure that appeared on the lawn in front of the abandoned house. The townspeople watched as the ghost entered the house. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning, and they saw the girl standing in the window. She was holding a knife in her hand. It was the same knife that John had taken from her. Her eyes were blazing with anger. She screamed loudly, and the sound of her voice tore through the night. The townspeople decided to investigate. They broke the window and went inside. To their horror, they found the old man dead on the floor. He had a knife wound in his chest, and the girl was nowhere to be found. The next day, the police came to the village. They questioned every inhabitant, but no one had seen the ghost. The officers concluded that the old man had probably been killed by robbers. They took the body away for examination. Meanwhile, in the abandoned house, the girl was sitting by the wall. In her hands was the same knife, which now had a new owner. A year passed. The abandoned house was demolished, and the village seemed to have forgotten about the terrible events that had happened here. However, one evening, a group of teenagers decided to spend the night in the cemetery. They wanted to check whether it was really as creepy as everyone said. They took flashlights, cameras, and plenty of food with them so they wouldn't be afraid. When the teenagers arrived at the cemetery, they saw that the iron fence was broken in several places. A cold wind blew through the cemetery, and the guys felt a little scared. But they decided to stick together and go to the center of the cemetery. Suddenly, one of the guys stumbled upon a mound. He turned on his flashlight and gasped. The beam hit the inscription on the gravestone. It read, "Here lies John. May your soul find peace." Then the guy remembered the story about the stranger who had hanged himself in the village. He told the others about it, and they all decided to leave the cemetery. But then, one of the teenagers noticed that there was a dark figure ahead of them. At first, he thought it was just another visitor to the cemetery, but then the stranger began to move towards them. The guy turned on his flashlight again and saw that it was a girl. She was wearing a white dress, and her face was pale as death. The guy stepped back and accidentally turned off the light. The other teenagers panicked. They started running away, but the cemetery was very big and they couldn't find the exit. The girl kept following them and laughing all the time. Finally, they found the fence and ran away from the cemetery. And now stay with us until the end of the video. From that moment on, none of the teenagers ever dared to go near the cemetery. The girl in the white dress never showed herself again, or so the teenagers thought. Many years later, one of these men came to the cemetery to put flowers on his wife's grave. His daughter was playing nearby. Suddenly, the girl noticed that the iron fence was broken. She asked her father why no one had fixed it yet. The man sighed. "I think it's better to leave it like that. After all, this place is cursed," he said. As soon as the man turned away, the girl ran to the fence and leaned against it. She wanted to see if there was anything behind it. Suddenly, the ground began to shake and a terrible voice echoed through the cemetery. "Let me out," it said. The girl screamed and ran to her father. He took her and ran away from the cemetery as fast as they could. After this incident, the man never returned to the cemetery. Do you believe in ghosts? Let me know in the comments below. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. If you want to see part 2 of this story, please click the link on the screen. See you soon. Bye.